to Insight on this Financial Friday. We are joined, as always on Fridays, by Casey Weed of Howard Bailey Financial. So, Casey, we were talking, and you said something that kind of surprised me. Most baby boomers will outlive their life expectancy.
That's good news, I guess.
It is, but I was surprised. Well, yes, but I mean, not good news when it comes to their financial expectancy, I guess.
The retirement plan.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about that, especially in terms of their money.
Yeah, many baby boomers simply underestimate what their life expectancy will be. They take a look at what's called a mortality table. That mortality table basically says, well, you're 62 years old or 65 years old, you should live to age 82. That's what many people think it says.
Right.
And what that's basically saying is, if you're 65 years old, 50% of people will pass away prior to 82, and the other 50% will go on living. And that could be for another 10, 20 years.
Right.
Another thing we have to take into consideration is a lot of people may not be getting the same level of nutrition as you and I get.
Right.
And the entire population is included in that mortality table.
Right.
And another interesting fact is that if you're married and you're both 65 years old, the chances of one of you living to 92 are about 50%. And there's a 50% chance that maybe you'll live beyond that. If we even take it another step further, if you're 55 years old, you could spend 50 or more years in retirement today. If you're retiring at 55, you could spend half a century in retirement.
Wow.
A lot can happen over a 50-year time period.
Yeah.
Well, and that really does mess with your financial plan because you're not prepared. You're expecting your money to last for 30 years, and it has to last for 50. And then, too, there's probably some more expenses that come in as you live longer than you've expected.
There's a lot of planning that has to go into that. I mean, a lot can happen in 50 years, so we need to have an advisor that can juggle your taxes. Inflation can be a huge concern. Distributions, expenditures, putting a budget together. You have to live on a budget, maybe. And there's a lot that goes into that planning when we're talking about 10, 20, 30, 40 years. May need some longevity planning in there. And when we're going through this planning process, we have a process that we go through. That first step is taking a look at your sources of income. Taking a look at your guaranteed sources of income, your pension, Social Security, any rental income you might have, and adding all those things up. And then we start looking for gaps in that income plan. We develop 3 different cash flow models. What if both spouses are surviving? What if one passes away? What if the other one passes away? And we may have to do some gap planning. We may have to have some additional saving or insurance to protect against some of those gaps in our cash flow. Then we have to take a financial inventory of all of our different assets that may be able to be used for our inflation protection or our income sources. And then we have to take into consideration the taxes. Because many people think, well, this is a bucket of money and this is how much income it's going to produce. Well, what if taxes are higher in the future?
Right.
And the money that comes out of a traditional IRA is 100% taxable. When it comes out of a Roth IRA is tax-free. And we may need to put in maybe a 35 or 40% tax bracket if you're in the 10 to 15% today. Because we're in one of the lowest tax environments we've been in history, and we may have to do some planning for that. Lastly, asset allocation. Many people think that, well, I'm this risky or that conservative, and that's going to have a huge impact on your retirement, is how conservative you are. If you're too conservative, well, maybe we run out of money because inflation averages 5% over the next 10 years. That could be a 50% price erosion, or your purchasing price that you can actually put down on things. Or what if we have it go the other direction? We're too aggressive. And this is what I see more often than not, is people are just too aggressive. Especially over the last 10 years, a lot of people realize they've just been too aggressive, and they can't be that way because when 2008 comes along and they're ready to retire in a couple of years, the money's not there when they need it.
And
Again,
it's always good to have the money there when you need it.
Exactly. Questions that you just don't necessarily know to ask until you give Howard Bailey a call.
That's right. And the short answer is you need a plan. For sure, you definitely need a plan. So give Howard Bailey Financial a call today to help start that plan, or email them info@howardbailey.com. We'll be right back on Insight.